Well, mine is in, it looks like it's actually one of those, day planners, or not day planner, it's a composition book. My government composition book, and it's black color. So it's in take it where it
Okay. Well, now what happens is if they remember. I even made sure I wore my son's shoes with Carolyn. They're for my cats. Tucker and Rachel. I think they're fun. What's that? Yeah, and Marla, we met at Carolyn. So you must be the other half that I've never met. I'm Dave. I'm Marla. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Yeah, I knew that I had heard that you were going to make it.
So you're just working as much as you want to, right?
was worried about summer because she's doing Extinguishing. As she was starting to walk out, the north side of the piece of the bed. So she says, I'll have to let him laugh on me, you know, really quiet. Well, he likes to know answer to this. They do a lot of art and stuff like that for their magazine. Oh, sure. Sure. 'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love, what death has touched. That thought was written by the Spanish poet Yehuda Havali some 940 years ago. And it is the reason we gather this Saturday afternoon. And while love is a human thing, so is loss. You may be here having never known Carolyn, but are with someone who did. Others of us knew Carolyn all of our lives. We set aside this time to remember, to honor, and to celebrate one life that has touched us in both similar and unique ways. And so it is, let us begin. It is customary in the Unitarian Universalist tradition to begin our time together by lighting the flaming chalice, a symbol for us of over 450-year-old tradition of free religion and open inquiry and the ever-present need to help one another. This afternoon, we will use the words of Greg Ward to carry the light forward. We are lucky. We will all get a chance if we are lucky, we will all get a chance during our life to know someone who becomes for us the exemplar of living. And if we are really lucky, we will recognize how they ended up passing on some of their goodness to us, if we are lucky. But one thing is certain. No one, not one of us entering this world can escape the cost of living. The price we pay is this. To live in this world, we must accept that someday we will have to die. To love what is alive, we must understand having to lose what we've made precious through our care. To be fully and fiercely human, we must accept having to be breakable and sometimes broken. In a little light to see by, it helps to encourage us to carry that light forward. Though each of us carries forth in this world a small flame, we know that the ability of that light to brighten the world depends upon the many others who learn to walk with it in their hearts. We light this chalice today to honor the life and living of a truly bright light. Carolyn K. Bowie Cameron. Our first song to share is one that Carolyn really liked. It's called For All That Is Our Life, and the words will be on the screen for anyone who wants to sing, but there's no requirement to do so.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its
Not how did she die, but how did she live? Not what did she gain, but what did she give? These are the units to measure the worth of a woman as a woman, regardless of her birth. Nor what was her church, nor what was her creed, but had she befriended those really in need? Was she ever with words, was she ever ready with words of good cheer to bring back a smile, to banish a tear? Not what did the sketch in the newspaper say, but how many were sorry she passed away. Sorry. This song, Comfort Me, speaks to me especially while I think of Carolyn. It's said to have come from a composer during a time in her life when she was feeling particularly unsettled and angry. For me, it speaks to my feelings of my loss. It's called Comfort Me. So our next will be a eulogy with Summer Bowie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Summer Bowie. I'm one of Carolyn's 6 adoring grandchildren. Thank you. And I've never been known for brevity, so please do get comfortable. The connection between grandchild and grandparent is often sweet and easy. The extent of the generational gap provides a certain impetus for both parties to bring the best of themselves to the table. But that disconnect and that desire to keep things cordial often gets in the way of our ability to really know one another. And so most of us never really get to know our grandparents. To penetrate the cultural divide of growing up in different times and places, and find ourselves within one another despite all that makes us different. I had the incredible fortune of truly knowing my grandmother, and I got to have her in my life for 38 years, which is much longer than most of us have with our grandparents. One needn't know her very well to see that she was wildly intelligent, with a vocabulary that continued to grow every day of her life like a wild vine. I believe she held on as long as she did because she was very content to spend much of her time alone with a book from a very young age. Although in old age, she did grow very attached to reading from her phone, which she affectionately called iBaby. She was quick-witted and prone to finding humor in every little drama, making it easy to share one's woes and to move on from them as well. To use our modern parlance, she wanted to see people and to make them feel seen, and she wanted to feel seen as well. For those of us who took the time to really see her, she brought you in close and held you tight. She had a way of changing people, and this trait started very early in life. Many of you know her as Carolyn, but she has always been my Grandma Kay. Carolyn K. Bowie was born in Ada, Oklahoma on November 8th, 1942. On her first birthday, with her father Hugh Bowie deployed in the Second World War, her mother Frida temporarily moved in with her older sister and brother-in-law for child care support on Mare Island in the San Francisco Bay Area. Kay was almost 2 years old when the treaty was signed, marking the end of the war. Taking her cues from her 2 older cousins, she had fallen into the habit of calling her Uncle Roy Daddy. With 6 months to lick the habit, the whole family began imploring her to call him Uncle Roy, but she was steadfast. Every time she made the mistake, he would say, "Dog bite my rabbit hide, I'm not your daddy, I'm your Uncle Roy." And so her cousins began calling him Uncle Roy to reduce the confusion. By the time her father did come home, she had successfully kicked the habit. However, until the day he died, his youngest daughter continued to call him Uncle Roy. Within a year, Kay had taught herself to read, and her parents could hardly believe it. She was so independent and self-sufficient that they quickly entrusted her with many odd jobs around the jewelry store. I remember learning when I was a young child that she had started to drive at the age of 9, and I felt wholeheartedly that I was living in the wrong era. She would drive around delivering jewelry and writing checks as though these were normal errands for a prepubescent child. By the time she hit her teens, like most of us, she had developed a rebellious streak. Grandma Kay decided that school no longer challenged her, and knowing that Frida had always felt undereducated, it only seemed natural that her mother should do Kay's homework so that she had more time for a social life. The arrangement worked out wonderfully for the both of them, and she managed to finish her studies early at the age of 16. My grandmother's curiosity knew no bounds, and she found herself nearly an adult at the end of the 1950s with deeper questions about religion, about race, and about her role as a woman. She found herself engaged at 17, and shortly before her wedding day, she asked her soon-to-be husband if he knew much about these things called condoms that she had been hearing about, and whether they might want to look into where to find them. So scandalized was he both by the fact that she was in the know and so plain-spoken that he simply replied, "I think it's best if we wait until marriage before we have these kinds of conversations." Humiliated, she hoped he would broach the subject in due time, but within a few short months, she was pregnant with twins. Having little to read on the subject of birth, she simply waited for it to happen. When her water broke, she went to the hospital. A nurse asked her how far apart her contractions were, and she replied, "I don't think I'm having any yet." So the nurse felt her abdomen and said, "You're having one right now." Oh, she thought, that's what that is. And before she knew it, she was being directed to push her first child out, who turned out to be my Uncle Scott. 10 minutes later, she gave birth to my father, David, and when it was over, she wondered what all the fuss was about and whether or not someone might bring her a hamburger. Grandma Kay became a parent at a very young age, and she always felt that she had been too young to do it well. Far be it for me to say what she did right and what she did wrong as a mother, but I know that she cared deeply about getting it right. What I can say is that she was an extraordinary grandmother, and she loved children. After graduating from Abilene Christian University, she attended Teachers College and spent her first career as an elementary school teacher. Later, she became a school counselor, and in a bit of a full circle moment, she found herself attending a counseling conference in the San Francisco Bay Area, where she met my Grandpa Bruce. Sparks flew immediately, and by the end of the conference, he offered to drive her down to San Diego, where she was going to visit her parents and sons. My grandmother was an incredibly complicated and multifaceted woman. She was both a hermit and a bon vivant. She loved traveling to big cities and living in the sticks, watching people and tending to her garden. And though she was a remarkably nurturing woman who loved working with children, she also inherited her father's entrepreneurial bent and was a very shrewd businesswoman. So at some point, she told my grandfather that he should learn how to work a jewelry bench because she wanted to start selling engagement rings from their home in Dallas. Having taught technical arts for many years after his time sailing submarines in the Navy, Grandpa Bruce got his sea legs at the bench in no time, and that's when they opened Cameron's Two of Diamonds. Grandma Kay turned 44 the year I was born, and it was in that year that she suffered her first heart attack. Everyone on my mom's side of the family made plans to meet at my maternal grandparents' house in Colorado, and Grandma Kay was not going to let a heart attack keep her from meeting me. So within just a few days of recovery, she and Grandpa Bruce jumped in the car and made the drive to Colorado. I don't know anything about how the trip went. I just know that when she set her mind to doing something, she never took no for an answer. My first real memories of knowing her start around age 5. By then, she and Grandpa Bruce had 2 homes, one in Dallas and the other about an hour north of Seattle, where Grandpa Bruce had built a 3-story house in the woods. I have fond memories of visiting them in both houses. Whether we were fishing, riding horses, doing crafts, or going to water parks, there was always so much consideration that went into showing us a good time. It was at that age that she also started helping my parents to pay for my sisters and me to take dance lessons, which became codified as a principal aspect of our overall identities. When I was 9, she planned a trip for us to meet in Carmel, California for a week-long crafting workshop. We did our arts and crafts throughout the day, and at night we would make dinner, then sit by the fire eating German chocolate cake and chatting, often until after midnight. This is when I feel we truly met for the first time. She recounted all that she discovered in her voyages around the world, particularly in India, where she had been traveling frequently with her dear friend and colleague, Nick. She introduced me to the concept of theology, leading me down a rabbit hole of intrigue and religions that I never knew existed. And as she prodded me with philosophical questions, she realized that we shared a similar precociousness. She introduced me to Moore's Law, though I can't remember if she named it. What I recall was that she told me about the rudimentary state of technology when she was my age, and that technology advances exponentially over time, so that the degree of advancement between our 44-year age gap would likely happen again within the next 10 years or less. That everything would get cheaper and faster, and in ways that we never imagined were possible. She talked to me about privilege, giving me a whole new perspective on my standing in the world at large. Until then, I had no idea how truly fortunate I was to be born in the first world, to be raised in an upper-middle-class suburban community, to have 2 parents, 2 sets of grandparents, and 1 set of great-grandparents. It was a multi-layered safety net, and she was always right at the center of it. Grandma and Grandpa retired from the diamond business, but recognizing a major void in the market for fine UU jewelry, Grandma created Chalice art and told me that retirement is great because it's the chapter in life when you finally get to start doing exactly what you want to do. Toward the end of high school, I was dancing 35 hours per week at a studio across town and didn't have time for an after-school job. So I started saving my lunch money and putting it into my gas tank, $5 at a time, which was wholly unsustainable. She didn't like the fact that I wasn't eating lunch, so she sent me 100 raw silver Chalice pendants and agreed to pay me by the hour if I would polish them at my parents' store. I could work my own hours and learn a new skill, and with 100 pendants, I had a lot of hours of work. This was something that she did for a lot of people, and many of them are probably in this room. Anytime she recognized that a friend could use some money, she would find a way to put them to work, always ensuring that something got done and that everyone felt dignified. I went to the south of France at 24 to perfect my French, and when I came home at the end of the year, my first stop was the lake house in Pottsboro. She had just stopped driving at night, and since my flight arrived in Dallas at dusk, she picked me up and we went to a hotel for the night. I had been dumped over the phone the night before at the Barcelona airport, and I was a wreck. She couldn't tell what was wrong at first, but just as soon as we put our bags down, she pulled a few dollar bills from her pocket, and she said, "I'm going to go down the hall to get some ice and a Coke, and I'm going to put a little rum in it." There was something so therapeutic about spending time with Grandma in Pottsboro. All we did was make breakfast and dinner each day and chat in between. And by the end of the week, I was ready to go home and start the next chapter. One night she asked me what I thought about the dinner she made, and when I gave her the polite answer, she chided, "Can you cut out the best behavior bullshit and just be yourself? I want to actually know you." And from that point forward, I stopped being who I thought she wanted me to be, and we started to know each other as adults. Our relationship fully transcended that of grandmother and granddaughter, and we were simply friends. I was afraid that the only way I could keep my French once I returned to the States was by teaching it, so Grandma Kay offered to pay my tuition when I decided to earn my teaching credential. She warned that I probably wouldn't love working in the public school system, but was happy to help if that was what I wanted. She was right, and I quit teaching after 3 years to start an arts and culture magazine with my partner Oliver. Most of my family was concerned about me. They were worried I was investing in a pipe dream, and they wanted me to make another plan just as soon as possible. But Grandma never said I told you so, and when I asked if she was worried about me, she replied, "No, not at all." I asked why, and she said, "Because you're smart and resourceful, you're very hardworking, and you don't get any credit for being attractive, because that's just dumb luck. But that counts for a lot when it comes to success. With all those things combined, you're bound to always land on your feet." 9 years later, Oliver and I are still working hard on the magazine, and life gets easier every year. I can feel my privilege in just the same way I did when she made me aware of it as a young child. In the last year of her life, I took so much pleasure in sharing photos and videos of my son Maurice, and she even got to meet him twice. Seeing the joy on her face while holding him and playing with him was one of the greater privileges I've experienced in life. Her replies to my text messages came within seconds, and I felt closer to her in this last year than any other. I've been incredibly fortunate to have her in my life for so many years, and yet nothing could prepare me for her loss. What made Grandma Kay so special was that she didn't just give you permission to be yourself. She demanded it, and when you acquiesced, she made you understand that who you actually are is so much better than whoever it is you thought you were supposed to be.
Thank you so much. Carolyn touched each of us in various ways. We all have unique, illuminating thoughts about her life because we knew her in differing ways. Now is our time to speak about Carolyn so that we can learn and remember more about her. Come tell a story, an incident, a remembrance, something funny, something sad. Yes, Wesley, you'll be able to do that. something sad, something important, or something trivial. We will listen to the stories, and when we have concluded, we will have woven together the strands of history into a tapestry of memories. As together we remember Carolyn K. Bowie Cameron. While we are sharing our stories, a video showing on the screens will have glimmers of Carolyn's life over the years. I only have 2 requests of those who are sharing. Please come forward and we'll adjust the mic so that it can reach you and so that everyone can hear it. And we'll have a lasting recording for the family then of every memory that is shared. If you cannot come forward, let us know and we will bring a mic to you so that you do not have to stand up while you're sharing. And if you're joining on Zoom, please send a chat to the Zoom moderator letting them know you would like to speak, and remember to tell them who you are. Wesley, did you want to come up? We're going to adjust the mic a little bit here because he's not going to be quite as tall.
What I remember is that she was kind, caring, and had a lot of friends.
Thank you very much. Who wants to share next?
I'm Marion Hill. My husband Albert and I have known Carolyn and Bruce Cameron for many years, and we've enjoyed a lot of delightful hours in their company, talking and laughing about church things, politics, travel, families, and food, with lots of sharing, indulging in, and comparing notes about favorite foods. We were all members of Movable Feast, which is a cooking and eating group in our church, mostly eating, and enjoying each other's companies over food. It was a joy to know Carolyn. As those of you who are also privileged to spend time in her company know, her smile lit up a room, and she always made whoever she was talking with feel important. She contributed a great deal to Red River UU Church over the years, not only money, but in various service roles. Even in her later years, when illness limited her activities, she always wanted to contribute. She was a member of the Committee on Ministry, which met once a month, to talk with anyone who had a complaint or a question about how things were being done at church. Things must have rocked along reasonably well, since the committee received few complaints, but Carolyn and the committee were always available just in case. Carolyn acted as greeter at our church once a month, making visitors and members feel welcome. She also took over the regular chore in her latter weeks and months of scheduling herself and other greeters so that someone was always available for that duty. That was something she could do on her computer in her living room. I miss Carolyn a lot, partly for her talents, such as designing exquisite Chalice art, UU-themed jewelry, but mostly because she was just such fun to be with.
Let me just take a minute here before I go to lose it. If I could see the members of the Bowie family, would you please stand up? Scott? See, your name was Summer. Brianna, Natalie. Where are we? Got some others over. Oh, David, his wife Pat. Am I missing anybody? Okay. And the lady in the pink. You're a Bowie, right? Okay.
With the two sisters, she lived with when she was 2, and she
Okay.
did have a sparkle in her eye, even when she was 2.
And the members of the Cameron clan. Your wife can stand up too. And yeah, you betcha, all of them. That is Wesley there, the smaller one. He's extremely charming and precocious, and that's his mother that he's holding on to. That is Amanda and her husband James. In the back panel is Ryan and Renee Stark and their daughter. Am I missing one of them?
No, they're both there.
Oh, I see. Somebody was blocking your view. The one in the white is Riley. The taller one is Rebecca. 2 of my great-grandchildren, as is Wesley. Where's Mo? There he is, this little guy. He's got some really great dancing moves. You have to see it on tape to appreciate it. So I think that's it, and I want to thank all of you.
Don't forget you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see that. You're Steve Cameron, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I still want to go fishing with you. I want to thank you all for being here. She was an incredible human being, truly incredible. And I married way above my station. So, thank you again. We have those out here, our UUs, our Unitarian Universalist people, practice that particular faith. If you would raise your hand. Okay. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to give it a shot. For those of you that have your hands up that do not have some kind of a lapel pin or a pin or anything, if you don't have one, keep your hand up.
Bruce is handing out tax pins to people who are UU and don't have one.
Thanks, Bruce. I have one of the lovely chalices. Okay. Other people that don't have one? Yeah.
Bruce? We'll get him under that.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do if I run out. I'm sure there'll be a message from
Here's Thomas. Bruce, right here.
You have one?
No.
You gonna come to church every Sunday? That's all I need. For those of you that don't have one, somebody has a pen, you can write your name on this. Be sure I get it back, and we'll get you taken care of. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much.
We have some others. Are you going to talk about your time in India with your... Oh, okay. I'm done.
My name's Amanda.
No, not too close. It's a good mic.
It's a good mic. Can you guys hear me? Yep. I'm Amanda, and I'm a granddaughter of Carolyn Cameron. And when I thought about today, I thought about what I would want to say and how I could say it without crying. But what fun is that? So I just want to share some of the experiences I had growing up with Grandma, and I'll do my best to get through it. For me, Grandma was so much more than just a grandparent. I thought of her as a mother, and I loved her in a way that I think transcended just a grandparent role. And I trusted her with all of my major life decisions, and it proved to be a good thing. So I'm very fortunate. My life is wonderful. Wesley's my son. I have a wonderful husband. And in so many ways, I'm just so grateful for all of the guidance that she gave me and the ways that she pivoted my life. Because I would turn to her and I would tell her stories and I would share with her things that were going on in my life, and she was never a person to just tell you what to do. She would empower you to make the choice that was right for you, which is a very special gift. It's so easy for someone to shut you down by just telling you what they believe the solution to your problem is. And instead, Grandma would take the time to allow you to soul search in her presence. One of the ways that she really pivoted my life was helping me be physically healthy. I loved staying up and eating with grandmother and cooking with her, and just throughout my life she would say that I taught her to cook, which was so like her, to teach someone something and then give them the credit for it. So today, anyone in my family will tell you how important healthy food is, and it's thanks to Grandma that became so pivotal in my life. Also, spirituality is something extremely important that Grandma taught me and inspired me to explore through various religions and cultural experiences. And when I was a teenager, I was going into college, and I missed my first week of college in a profoundly more important life experience. She took me to India, and I was able to attend a beautiful wedding, experience a culture firsthand, learn about different religions, and most importantly, just gain a respect for another way. And it definitely pivoted me, becoming a vegetarian, being open to life in a far different way. But after that, in my own family, transitions happening, Grandma created a safe place for me. So in between all my studies or travels, I always knew where my landing pad was, and that was with Grandma and Grandpa. And they were home for me. And when I was with them, life made sense. And that is a skill that I just don't know how you develop, but I think it's a lifetime goal to try to create safety for others and create a culture that is home for others, whether or not they're similar to you in faith or appearance or dress or culture or financial standing or any of these things that don't truly matter. So in life, I think we're all just searching for what makes sense and what's important. And for Grandma, it was truly the connection. And she would call BS BS. And frankly, that is so difficult. And as you enter new phases of life, becoming a mom and becoming married, you forget who you are. And with Grandma, she would challenge you and expect you to figure it out. And I'm so thankful, and I'll be forever thankful to her for that. So I have other stories, but I want to give my husband a chance to tell his story about when he met my grandparents, because there were suitors, and not all of them met Grandma's approval. But my husband passed the tests quite literally. So I'd like to pass the baton if you don't mind.
All right. Ophthalmologist. That was one of the first things I had to spell. One of the first conversations I had with Grandma, spell ophthalmologist. I did not do well. And even though at one time I actually, and I said this, I was like, oh, ophthalmologist, I should know how to spell this. I wanted to be one at one point, so I think that got me points. And then I just kept trying. And she said she gave me credit for that one. My second test was the belief-o-matic. And I think I did pretty well. There was this computer system where you put in all these different beliefs, and I was raised by an Irish Catholic and a Russian Jewish mom and dad, and went in with interesting perspectives, but luckily I came out with primary UU and secondary Buddhist, which she was very happy would match with my my primary Quaker and secondary UU, right? Apparently, which has come out once in a while. It actually has come out. But it was very clear to me that Grandma and Grandpa were very fiercely protective of the ones that they loved. And that's what I remember most, is they were so protective and so proud of their grandchildren and their children. And they were so supportive. And every time we went through things, and there were other tests, feats of strength. I had to make sure that I helped Grandpa with some projects, painting of the patio. There was a little bit of Mr. Miyagi happening, painting of the patio, and getting the most important beer fridge, secured in the understudy area. But I was proud to have gone through those tests, and I was proud to have been accepted by the family, and very appreciative of the love that they gave you all, and in awe by them. So they'll be remembered well. Yeah.
Anybody else? And if anybody needs a microphone brought to them, remember, I'll bring one.
And getting it up to height might be a lost cause, but.
No, it'll pick you up.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I could actually stand here for so many hours talking about Carolyn, because I have such a long experience with her. I remember meeting, she called, I was the artist who did their cantina, and they bought so many, and hi, Scott. But they bought a lot of my art, and at one point I was just there all the time. It was a rough time in my life. I remember when I first met them, and Carolyn was just so sweet. She's such a wonderful person. But the story that I was thinking of was, she called me and she said, okay, I want you to meet this suitor for Amanda, and I don't want you to be easy on him. And so I can't remember exactly what it was I said, and I said, okay, who are you and what are your intentions towards Amanda? And he was a good guy, and I'm glad it's worked out so well. I really am. Bruce has been just a close friend for, how many years has it been, 30? 30. Yeah, 30, maybe even more. I remember I know it was in probably the 90s. I did the Chalice art, very first website in the 90s, when everything was still hypertext markup language, and so I learned this new computer language just to be able to figure out how to put websites together, and made the Chalice art website, and and then met Scott and went to Vieques Island and did a little website for them, and it was a lot of fun. And I think back on the last 30 years, and Carolyn was involved in some of the very best moments of my life. And like I said, I could stand here for hours, so I'm just not going to. I loved her, and there was no better light in the world. I must stop before I start blubbering.
My name is Ryan Stark. I'm very nervous, so bear with me. I'll probably cry too. So I wasn't going to come up here, and that eulogy was amazing. It's almost not even right that anybody comes after you, because that was so perfect. So I'm struggling on what to say. I wrote down a lot, but it almost sounded like a eulogy, and that wasn't fair to what you did, which was amazing. They supported me through my entire life, and I'm a better person. You know, I was a Marine and a sheriff's deputy, and I'm such a little baby. All right, I'm a better person, man, father, husband, all thanks to their love, support, and friendship. You know, it was Grandma who actually helped me reconnect with my biological father, who I hadn't seen or spoken to in 30 years. So that was Grandma. I wrote down some memories. I loved going to their cabin as a child, as a young adult. I loved being put to work. I loved earning my keep there. I loved doing chores. She would often recount to me how tickled she was watching me carry bags of mulch on each shoulder, barreling down her trails, laying mulch down. That really made me proud that I was able to put a piece of me on their property, that I'd come year after year and see, hey, I rolled that piece of log stump that we use for the fire, or these mulch beds I helped, or the septic tank I helped dig up. I just love being involved and giving back because they gave me so much. I remember being there one Thanksgiving and her recounting to me how much she loved cooking for me because I was so appreciative. I was so thankful, and I would eat anything she made, and she did not like picky eaters. And I'm not one to this day. I had a house fire about 4 years ago. It was pretty traumatic. It was my fault. It was an accident. But you know the first person I called that night while the firefighters were actually putting out the fire? Grandma. That's crazy, right? I mean, I didn't call my mom, my dad, and I literally called Grandma and Grandpa. I woke them up, and I was like, I am really sorry for calling and waking you up, but my house is on fire. That just kind of shows you my relationship with them, how much I love them, and how important they were in my life, how important they are in my life. She and I had very similar thoughts on religion. I loved talking to her about that. She shared her thoughts, she shared videos, she shared books, and I made sure I read them. I made sure I watched them. If you ever got an email from Grandma, do you remember what the ending of her emails always said? It was a quote by Gandhi. And it said, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. And that was Grandma, through and through. The quote epitomizes who she is and who she was and how she lived so perfectly. I'm jumping all over the place. We could all be up here, and again, me being here is not fair to you, but she did ask me before she passed. She said, I only want a few people to speak, and I want you to be one of them. Now, did she say that to 50 other people? I don't know, but she told me that. And so, not doing it, she's not here, right? She's not here, but out of respect to what she said, here I am. This is a big fear for me. I'm not good at public speaking. The last thing she said to me was in text. I loved sharing photos of my kids, my girls, my daughters. And the last text was her telling me that I was a good dad. And being a dad is the only thing I think I'm really good at in life. And she was proud of me being a good dad. All right, I'm almost done. I once shared a quote with her. I would often travel and see things that reminded me of Grandma, and I would share it with her. This quote says, successful is the person who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of children, who leaves the world better than they found it, who has never lacked appreciation for the earth's beauty, who never fails to look for the best in others or gives the best of themselves. When I sent that to her, she simply replied that I was how she wanted to leave the world, that I was her legacy. Later on in life, or later on as her last few years, she became kind of concerned about, how do I want to leave my legacy? We are her legacy. Everything we do, we could do for Grandma, right? So I love her, and I miss her, and I thank y'all.
I'm Doug Strong, founding member of this congregation. And I believe I first met Carolyn before I met Bruce at a General Assembly. Our faith has an annual convention, like many faiths, and there was an exhibit hall where people can sell their wares, and Chalice Art had a booth. And Scott worked it, Pablo worked it, Bruce worked it, and probably others of you as well through the years. But I believe that's the first time I saw her, because I was there as part of the planning committee for the convention. And we just sort of hit it on. It was fun. And you were at Horizon Church then, I believe, having left Dallas to help co-found Horizon. There's something really nice about you're in your church, you love it, and then they say, we need people to volunteer to resign and go help start this new congregation. And Bruce and Carolyn did that, and Horizon is in Farmers Branch at Carrollton. All right. The city lines change, I guess. Anyhow, then they moved up here and came to church, and it was a good experience for the church and for Carolyn and for Bruce as well. Dug right in, enjoyed, and I remember Carolyn telling me that their first Sunday, a woman in the church who was leading worship that Sunday asked them to stand because she was so thrilled that they had come, and she felt they would be active in the church, which they have been. And she said she did not want to stand. And that, in many ways, was Carolyn. Recognition, acknowledgement was not wanted on a public basis, but rather a very personal basis. And she called me one day and asked me, you do some graphic stuff? And I said, yeah. Could you do an ad for the back cover of the UU World magazine about Chalice Art for the winter edition, which goes to 110,000 families across the United States? And I said, sure. I think we were on the back cover of 6 or 8 or 10 editions, and it was always 1, 2, or 3 items, and I would design something and we'd go out for lunch. Going out for lunch is a kind of a tradition with Carolyn. She may do it with a lot of you as well. But we'd go to lunch and talk about it, and she would always say, it's perfect. But before the lunch was done, 3 or 4 suggestions came forward about maybe a little to the left, or could we, and I would say, maybe. And we'd laugh about it. I went through kind of a rough period for a while financially, and Carolyn, and I don't think anyone knows this, Carolyn was a secretary of the board, duly elected. Carolyn did not enjoy being the secretary. And she said, I would like you to be the secretary, Doug. And I said, well, your term has another year on it. And she said, well, I can resign, and then you can be the secretary. I'm not quite sure how it ended up that I actually did become the secretary, and I served for about 6 years. And I swear she did something. That was Carolyn. Being generous, caring, sincere. She was who she was, and she became a close friend. And I think several of us could say that, a close friend. Bruce and Carolyn were close friends as well. But there was something just between the two of us that became endearing. And as her health declined, I had to spend more time traveling to my family in Wisconsin. And I would go for Christmas and stay for 3 or 4 months to help my sister who died in April. And she would send me just a text, when are you coming home? And I would give her the date, and she said, don't be late. And I love that of her. And as she got more and more ill, we would have more text messages and fewer visits because it was easy for her to text than it was to put out the energy needed to interact with someone. When you're sending a text message, it's easier. She will be missed, and she was a benefit to the world. And her progeny can be incredibly proud of the genes that you have that came from Carolyn, or by marriage from Carolyn. That's good too. Thanks.
Anyone else? I'll try to get through it. Mm-hmm. Let me fix the microphone.
My name is Marietta, and I have known Carolyn since the 80s, when y'all had the pictures in the bathtub with your hair all up in soap. I told them that picture needed to be up here, but it got nixed. But anyway, knowing Carolyn Cameron has been one of the biggest privileges of my life. I have known her since the 80s, when she was carrying her little stainless steel briefcase to all the hair salons. She has told me many times that I was one of the main reasons for her success, which was totally wrong, but we did know a lot of people that got referred to her. You girls that are her grandchildren, I grew up with grandparents, so it's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Carolyn was sick for many, many years, I know, but she never let on how sick she was. We were the ones up visiting her and Bruce one day, and Mike and I had stopped at Buc-ee's, and she said, I've never been to Buc-ee's. And I said, well, by gosh, you need to go to Buc-ee's. And she said, I can't walk. I said, I have a wheelchair, and we are going to come take you to Buc-ee's. And we did. And we went to Buc-ee's with Bruce and Carolyn. They met us there because we were coming from totally opposite sides of the Metroplex. And we went to Buc-ee's, pulled out our wheelchair. We put her in it. I told Bruce and Mike to go do whatever it was they were going to do, and her and I took a tour of Buc-ee's. We bought barbecue sandwiches, sat outside and ate. One of the greatest times ever that I will remember. Just last Christmas, they met us. My husband does Santa Claus and McKinney, and the picture of Santa Claus was of him with Bruce and Carolyn last year at Christmas time. They would meet us several times at Rick's, which is a really nice restaurant in McKinney. Last Christmas, even with Carolyn being as sick as she was decked out. She came and she was gorgeous, absolutely. And I will never forget those times with her. Sorry.
Thank you. She also loved that you came up and gave her pedicures on a regular basis. She loved that.
I like washing her feet.
So I'm Jim Holmes, and my first real conversation with Carolyn, we were at one of our movable fig feasts that we have here at the church, and she sat next to me and she looked me in the eye and she goes, "Jim, I don't know anything about you. Tell me everything and don't leave out any details." And we became friends. So later she decided she needed a new computer, and because I do a lot of the computer work for church, she called me up and said, "Would you help me?" And I did, and so I'm over there one day, and she goes, "Oh, Bruce is out on the porch drinking wine. Maybe you'd like to join him." So she set us up on our first blind date, Bruce, and we've been dating ever since. Back around, for Christmas, I bought myself a guitar, and I told Carolyn that I wanted to relearn how to play, and she goes, "When are you going to play for me?" So I did. It was adequate, but she liked it, and she goes, "When are we doing this again?" And so I said, "Well, let me get a little bit better." Unfortunately, she got worse faster than I got better, so I never had a chance to play for her. But now when I practice, there's this one song that just reminds me of her now, and I'm not going to play it. You're welcome. But I'm going to read this song. It's by my favorite poet, Bob Dylan. It's "I Remember You." I remember you when I've forgotten all the rest. You to me were true. You to me were the best. When there is no more, you cut to the core quicker than anyone I knew. When I'm all alone in the great unknown, I'll remember you. I'll remember you at the end of the trail. I had so much left to do, I had so little time to fail. There's some people that you don't forget, even though you've only seen them a time or two. When the roses fade and I'm in the shade, I'll remember you. I'll remember you when the wind blows through the piney wood. It was you who came right through, it was you who understood. Though I'd never say that I'd done it away, that you would have liked me to. In the end, my dear sweet friend, I'll remember you.
I wasn't planning to do this. I'm not one of the 50 people that she asked to speak, so I'll keep it really short. And later I want information about the mugshot, because I think there's probably a good story there. I only have the privilege of knowing Carolyn for about 7 years. I met her after coming here to church, and no surprise to any of you, she reached out to me, and she became a friend when I really needed a friend. One of the things about Carolyn is I think she's one of the most interesting people I've ever known, and she's had such an incredible life, and yet when I was in the room with her, she made me feel like I was the most interesting person, which I wasn't. She just had a way of making you feel really good about yourself, and so I'll always appreciate that. And I'm thankful that I'm getting to meet today all these people that I've heard stories about over the years. She loved her family so much, and her friends have heard about her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren, and I'm so happy I finally got to see Maurice and Wesley and all of you, because she had an amazing family and she knew that, and I think she was one of the main reasons why. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Steve Cameron, his number one son. Mom Carolyn, as you know, was awesome. She was so sweet to everybody. She was a better mom to me than my own mom was. You know, this is just kind of how it was. She was kind, she was generous. She loved all you grandkids, all you girls. She had nothing but good words and praises. I'd go down and visit pretty often as she was getting sicker over time, and just loved to look forward to the new stories she would share about summer, the girls, all the things you guys were doing, and just so proud of everybody. And I know that we're all very blessed to have her in our lives. And I think that she would want us to be happy and thankful that we're all here and that she's home, safe, and whole again. So, and it's good to finally get a chance to meet everybody too, Summer and all the girls and everybody too. So that's all. Love you, Dad.
I'll just keep it really short. There's just a few things that I remembered as a kid. As far as the comforting thing, there's a few funny stories that she comforted me with, because when I was about 5 years old, my great-grandfather said that I had a boyfriend, and his name was Porky Fatback. And Brianna had one Slobber Lips McJab. And I just didn't want to marry Porky Fatback. And so she told me, don't you worry, he's not real. But she waited about a year to tell me he wasn't real. And then also my great-grandfather said he was going to help pay for college, but only if we went to Abilene University. And I told her, I just don't want to go to Abilene. I was so worried I was never going to go to college. She said, I got it covered. Don't you worry about it. I'll talk to him. And that's what she did. She always made sure that we were comforted. And the last memory I want to share is, I was about 6 years old. She made sure to get some one-on-one time with each of us. So she would have us come and visit on our own, between my sisters and I. And I was 6 years old, and she wanted to take me to a water park, and I'd never been before, but it was probably about 102 degrees outside. And I said I wanted to go, and she said, okay, I'm going to turn this timer on to 5 minutes. You stand outside, and after 5 minutes, let me know if you still want to go. Well, she underestimated a 6-year-old's need to go to the water park. So 5 minutes rang, and I said, yep, let's go. And we got there, and I saw this big swing. I don't know how tall it was. It felt like 4 stories tall. And I really wanted to go on it, but because I was so young, they wouldn't let me go by myself. And she just looked at me, and she said, I'm sorry, I can't go. And some tatted up gentleman heard us talking, and he said, I'll go with her. And I just looked at her, and she goes, it'll be fine. Go ahead. So I got to ride on like one of the biggest swings at the water park because of her. And the only other thing is the times that we did spend alone, she let me know years later how different my twin sister and I were. She had activities set up for us, little jello jigglers and art projects, and I would do about one art project, and I'd say, okay, I'm done now, and want to move on to the next thing, and that's kind of carried on throughout my life. But Brianna, I guess, would do about 5 different projects and would do them all day long, and she was like, you're a little bit more difficult because I had to keep coming up with things to do with you. Probably true throughout my life, but yeah, she always comforted in the best ways possible and just made you feel really good. So that's all.
I'm Sherilyn Bowler-Jack. I met Carol here and was immensely, just immediately attached. We talked about some really good things. And I have had numerous colors in my hair and will continue. I got to do something with this one. But it didn't matter if it was blue, purple, orange, whatever. She never touched. She didn't say, oh, this is a ladies' room, or, it was never that. She just loved. It was the bottom line. She just loved. And that's rare, very rare. And when I would come in the door and she'd be sitting there, that smile told me I was going to have a damn good day. And I did. whenever she was there. When she was here and sitting in a chair, yeah, that was good. That was a really good day. And I miss her a lot. Thank you.
My name is Nick Mehta. The real name is Nikin. But after coming to this country, it got changed to Nick. Everybody else does. Why not me? I'm going to talk to all of you about Carolyn in a different way, different angle. You know, the diamond have 58 facets. All of you saw Carolyn from different facets, but I have seen Carolyn in a totally different facet, and that is what I'm going to talk to you about. I met Carolyn and Bruce because of the same business we are in, and either Carolyn or Bruce showed up to my office at least once a week for many, many years. Now, we got closer, and one time I said, Carolyn, you want to go to India with me? And she said, of course. You know, she did not even blink, and she said, of course. And we ended up going to India together. When we went to India, we stayed with one of the family where it was grandpa and grandma, 2 sons, their wives, and 4 children. So 4 children, 2 husband and wife, and grandpa and grandma, 10 of them. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. So we reached Bombay, India. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. So, because we did not wake up everybody else, so the light was switched off. And I said, Carolyn, this is going to be your bedroom, you go to bed. Now, she has no clue how it's going to work out. So she goes to the bathroom, changes, and goes to bed. She wakes at about, say, 9 o'clock in the morning, because you know, it was a 24-hour journey. It was not easy. And when she wakes up, there are 4 kids, 2 of them standing on this side, 2 of them standing on this side, and she opens her eyes and 4 of them said, good morning, ma'am, and she just stands up and she goes like this. In my bedroom, how come there are 4? I said, Carolyn, I said, you go to bed in this room. I didn't say it's your bedroom. There were 4 more people sharing the same bedroom that you were sleeping in. She had no idea. That's the way it started. And she kept on getting surprises, at least 3, 4, 5 every single day. And she's a good observant. So she looks at everything and she said, Nick, 10 people in 3 bedrooms and these guys are diamond dealers. And why don't they find a bigger place? And I said, in Bombay, this is a bigger place. And 3-bedroom apartment is more than $2 million. And she said, oh. And so it was the Indian way. We sat down on the dining table. All the males are sitting down. All the women are serving, plus 3 servants at home, and a cook. And they are all serving. And Carolyn is sitting with us. It happened like 3, 4, 5 days. And she said, how come I'm not sitting with women? And I said, Carolyn, you are a special guest. That's why you are. He said, no, I want to sit with women. And the things changed. We stayed there for 2 weeks in Bombay. And we traveled quite a bit, whole Bombay. And Bombay is a very big city of 22 million people. So I come and say people that, what is the similarity between city of Bombay, state of Texas, and the country Australia? Same population. And Carolyn looked at everything and I said, you really want to see the Indian population? And at that time, in Hinduism, there is a monkey god. And we put the statue once a year in the ocean. And being Bombay is an island, so I took her to the beach and I said, if you want to see people, this time you can see. At the beach, if I don't exaggerate the number, there were 250,000 people. She is on the bridge and she said, no, I don't try to get scared. We came back. One time we were in the other city called Ahmedabad, and over there she said that, it's an ancient city, I want to see some really old historical things. I said, okay, I will take you somewhere. So I took her to one of my relatives' place, and I said, Carolyn, tell me how old this house is. And she said, it's like 50, 60, 70-year-old. It's a really old house. So they corrected that we are living in this house for last more than 200 years. The grandpa came, he said, no, it's more than 250. Then Carolyn started realizing that in America, when we have house 100-year-old and we put the mark that it's a historical place. In India, even if the house is 250-year-old, people live in it. You saw some of the pictures here, Carolyn sitting on a diamond wheel, trying to cut diamonds. And I took her to the different factories, and she was amazed. And then when we were in out of Bombay, other cities, she said, one thing you noticed? I said, what? He said, we stayed at Diamond Dealer's place for 2 weeks. We had a morning breakfast, lunch, and supper. And that becomes more than 40 times we sat on a table. Every single time these women made different kind of bread with no repetition. And I said, I did not realize that thing, but if you say so, because he is a good observant. But first time, second time, the third time she comes with Amanda. And Amanda had good time. My nephew was getting married, and normally groom goes in the procession to get married. This was a procession of about 250 people on the street, and they all were dancing. The Indian dance, the steps are totally different. Amanda says that I want to join. And I said, well, the steps are really difficult. He said, I will get it. In 2 or 3 minutes, Amanda picked up every step, and she was dancing like any other girl or a boy. And everybody was amazed because there was only white skin, one girl. She is dancing Indian. And she did have opportunity to dance on the street. Am I right? So there were a lot of things I can go on and talk about, but Carolyn has been in our life the day on which we met, both of them. When my son was getting engaged in Bombay, I was in that Pottsboro house and I got the news. When my son graduated from SMU and we wanted to have a party, Carolyn said that, how about Unitarian Church on Hebron? And we did have a party over there. I'm sure the whomsoever is with Unitarian Church on Hebron will know about it. So anyway, she was like an older sister to me. We shared a lot of time together, one-on-one, and I feel myself so fortunate just to know Carolyn and Bruce. Bruce is no less than Carolyn. He is really great man. He took care of Carolyn like anything. And Carolyn talked to me about Bruce also so many times, so many good things she shared with me. So I just want to end with this thing that I think I missed my old sister. That's the way I feel. Amen.
I want to briefly, that's a long ways up, touch on the,
Come on up.
you've seen the mug shots up there.
Yeah, come on up so it's on.
I wonder just,
Bruce, come on up.
Is that legitimate? Yes, it's legitimate. We were in the jewelry business. She had her little Halliburton briefcase, and she was going around from beauty salons to beauty salons, and a little overprotective. And I said, "This is a 2-shot Derringer." Opened up her purse and dropped it in there. I said, "You may have an occasion where you might need that. You know, just click it back." And well, you know, there wasn't any transference ceremony about that. I had some friends left over from the Navy who were putting together a deer farm outside of Bellingham, Washington, and they wanted to come to Kerrville and pick up some fallow deer for stock. So Jim and Anita, those are the couple, flew in, and I was going to fly with them to Kerrville. So Carolyn took us to the airport and dropped us off, and she said, "Do you want me to pick you up out here or come inside?" There's a lot of new construction going on, and I thought, "Hey, come on inside, because the odds of us finding us are slim." So the plane arrived, and we deplaned, and she was not there at the gang, you know, where people were coming up. As we're walking out, where they go through the security check, up against the wall is Carolyn, and guess why? Just can't do enough sometimes. So as it would turn out, a couple, 3 years later, one of her customers, a fellow by the name of Chapman, I think, a motorcycle trooper, became one of our customers and heard that story. And for, I think for a birthday present, he managed to get a hold of that mug shot and have it framed. And so he presented that to her, and she hung it up in her office where she had customers coming in. So anyways, they carted her off to jail, and I said, "No, me, stand back, sir, stand back." I said, "She has cardiovascular issues, and she's had stents, and, you know, this highly, stand back, sir." I said, "You got that?" He said, "We have it, sir." So they booked her, let her out on bail, and then she called and she says, "Okay, I'm on my way home." I said, "Well, you want me to call the folks whose party we were supposed to attend for their birthday?" She says, "Oh, no." She says, This is too good to pass up. No, I'm going to be a little bit late, but this is a great story." So that's what there is about that. She's not a hardened criminal. Okay, so if you go up the stairs, they're going to have a lot of food up there.
We'll be doing that soon, Bruce. We got to finish up.
Well, I don't want to miss this.
Yeah, there's going to be wine and beer and a whole bunch of other things up there. And lots of appetizers. Okay. It was such a rich conversation. I want to thank everyone for their wonderful comments, their stories, their remarks, and I'm really glad to hear the total story of the mugshot. So anybody that wanted to know that, now you know. So before we conclude, we're going to take all of these stories into our heart, and we're going to have about 2 minutes of silence. And we've had so much time in the rush of words, so we want them to kind of cease, and so we can hear our own hearts and care for our own souls. It's time for a private prayer, a time to become calm and focus on whatever your own religious or spiritual heritage offers. tapping into whatever brings you comfort and offers you peace and hope. And at the end of that time, we will Dan has an interlude that he has written especially for Carolyn. I'd like to share one more poem with you. I can hear Carolyn saying this in my head. It's called Afterglow. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. I believe this was her goal in life, and I believe that she definitely achieved it. And so we're going to have our next song, which was one of Bruce and Carolyn's favorite songs, and it exemplifies how they lived their life together. It's called Let It Be a Dance, and the words are on the screen for anyone who wants to sing along.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the beat. Bring the heart like the sea. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And rock the rhythm with the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child was born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Taking as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance for you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. When the sun comes out at night, without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong and nothing's right, let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, play the rain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
We have come to share the loss we have felt in Carolyn's passing, with some examples of the joy we carry from her life. This is what we have done. But before we extinguish this chalice, let us acknowledge that we will not, that we cannot extinguish the love Carolyn showed us, or the memory we have of her, or the love we carry forward. The people gathered here and many other lives have absorbed so much light from Carolyn. We will continue to reflect that light into the lives of the people we meet, even those who come years from now. May we always be able to see that light as it is reflected in all that we do, and remember and smile, knowing Carolyn's light is shining from us too. If you'll kindly remain seated, we're going to have the postlude. It's one more song. You may join in if you would like. It will be on the screen. And then once we finish that, we're going to have conversations and refreshments. They've been lovingly prepared by some of our members in Carolyn's honor. And those of you who I've asked to stay in here, what we're going to do for this is you will go upstairs. We have the plates and everything up there. You can help yourself and fill your plates. There's drinks. There's a cooler there, and there's wine and beer, and there's all kinds of non-alcoholic things. And so if you will go get those and bring them back down. I have a few helpers who have agreed to help me change things around in here, so we'll have a place to sit and talk. So we'll go on with the postlude. Oh, one other thing too. There is a guest book out there. It's not just to sign your name and address like a lot of guest books are. Write whatever you would like. Write it to the family, write it to Carolyn, however you'd like to write it, but please sign. Thank you all for coming. And please join us upstairs for appetizers that you can bring down and chat with people that are here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I was not at my best. I was like, there's some real, particularly on the little interlude. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. We loved your story. We remember the cantina very, very well. It was spectacular. It was absolutely. Oh. That property, the A-frame at the top of the hill and down to the cantina, that was just spectacular. I had never seen anything like it. That was it was beautiful. I mean, yeah, both of them were so artistic, and just like, you know.
I hope you didn't mind that I said that you wrote that for Carolyn.
No, it is just like. Well, you know what? It was definitely its debut. It will be known as Carolyn's Interlude. Yeah. I was just going to write some interludes and just number them. Well, this will be number 1. It'll be Carolyn's Interlude. Yeah, yeah.
So let's turn nice.
Thank you. I definitely do. Yeah.